Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic. Lawyers, what's a law that isn't real that normal people insist exists? It's a law that exists but widely misunderstood is the concept of entrapment. If the police put a bait vehicle in a high crime area, that is not entrapment. If the police are watching a bar known to overserve to see if there are impaired drivers at the end of the night, that is not entrapment. Entrapment only occurs when a gov agent suggests committing a crime that you were not otherwise going to commit. This actually happened to an old high school teacher of mine. He thought he was going on a date with a lady he met online. When they met up for the date, who happened to be an undercover officer, she was like, "I'm not really interested in a date, but for $, I'll do _" to which he obliged. He was charged with soliciting a prostitute, but the charges were dropped, since he was only actually interested in the date and had no desire to solicit anything until the officer brought it up. That is exactly the classic scenario that the law is written to prevent. The case that really set the court precedent for this was wild. FBI agents were badgering this farmer to buy porn for months, and finally he was like, "Sure, whatever." Wham, jail time. I believe it was cleared, but damn, was that dirty. Edit, so here is the Wikipedia article on it. So the US Postal Service began a sting operation to catch people for trying to buy child pornography in 1985. I thought it was just normal porn, and when all porn was illegal, I was mistaken. They set the sting on him 3 times, and only in the 3rd time did he actually try to buy a magazine of porn of 11 to 14-year-olds. It was determined that this constituted entrapment, and was something of a landmark case because they ruled in his favor. Don't forget where the undercover befriended a mentally handicapped kid and eventually forced him to buy weed for her, then arrested him. An arrest isn't magically invalidated if the police don't read you your rights on the spot. There could be a whole thread of just misconceptions people have from watching cop TV. Miranda rights protect you from self-incrimination when being questioned by the police for a crime. It doesn't mean they have to Miranda you the second you get arrested. If you aren't questioned, then it doesn't apply. People also think it's illegal not to let them make a phone call after being arrested. Came here to mention the one phone call misconception. They don't have to let you call anyone as long as they give you reasonable access to a lawyer. That's why I love in The Dark Knight when the Joker says, "I want my phone call," and the cop ignores him, because that's exactly what they would do. My little brother seems to be under the impression that at 17 and a half, if he got caught selling weed, which is illegal in my state unless you have a license to sell and a med card to buy, that when he turns 18 his record would be expunged. He also thinks driving a motorcycle without a helmet or a license of any kind, not even his car permit, is okay because if he does get pulled open, he can just run away from the cops. Also that him blowing into his friend's breathal is a thing tied to the car ignition, so that person can drive drunk is perfectly fine because he's a better driver when he's drunk. Also for everyone saying no helmet not illegal, just shut the fuck up. Edit, here's a few more stories for the hungry masses. My little brother is a pot smoker, obvi, and was scouted for AD2 school for football, and they were really interested in him until his dumb shit self failed a drug test he knew about months in advance and got kicked off the football varsity team. My little brother once kicked a door and cried for 2 hours, at age 17, to go to the hospital because he really hurt so bad, and it was worse than when he broke his clavicle, and he was sure he broke his foot. But he didn't break, or fracture, or bruise anything. He's just a big whiny cunt. My little brother has a video of himself directing a paintball gun at a cop discreetly from about 2 blocks away with his little friends giggling in the background. Then, when the cop gets into his cruiser, my brother and his friends all freak the fuck out and run, screaming like wild animals. Edit 2, maybe I wasn't clear, but my reason for posting this is mostly the TV cops comment above. These are absolutely things my brother has decided on because of TV/movies/ second-hand experiences of his friends telling a story about someone they barely know or firstly met. He firmly believes that because nothing happened to them, nothing will happen to him. But he never factors in the fact that those kids are white, go to a nicer school and live in better towns, and their parents have money. My brother's Puerto Rican and we do not have money, and he goes to a piece of shit school with metal detectors and 3 cops, not security guards. Real cops, on the premises all day. I'm sorry you have a brother that is a moron, and for whatever harm he may help cause in the future. Your little brother has some learning to do, and it sounds like he may learn it the hard way. Forced taught is probably a better conclusion. I hope not, but unfortunately it sounds like a when it will happen situation, not if. It's federal law in the US that a plainclothes or undercover police officer has to identify themselves as law enforcement if asked. No, it's not the law, and they can tell you whatever the fuck they want. I'm reminded of that Breaking Bad cold open where Badger gets arrested for selling product to an undercover officer because of this exact made-up law lol. They can do drugs to prove they are a cop too. An undercover cop went to court to get his rehab for cocaine covered by workers' comp. It was covered. My father, who is a lawyer, policemen cannot lie to you. This is false. They can and they do. Edit. There's so many replies that I cannot even find some of the ones I'd like to respond to, so I want to leave a general note for those who have asked for a reference. Frazier vs. Cupp is the Supreme Court ruling that affirmed the legality of deceptive interrogation tactics in 1969. The ruling is still active. I heard you were smuggling animals. What are you, a cop? In California, it's not illegal to discuss your wages with your co-workers, despite what your boss might say. Edit, I'm a lawyer in California. I assume it's the same in the other 49 states, but don't want to speculate. It's actually not illegal anywhere in the United States to discuss wages or form/join a union, contrary to what many employers may claim. I also strongly recommend you do both to protect yourself and your colleagues from being taken advantage of. Edit, as many commenters have noted, it's not only completely legal to unionize and or discuss wages, but it's actually illegal for a company to attempt to prohibit either, and being fired for unionizing or for discussing wages is grounds for a wrongful termination lawsuit. Know your rights, don't get screwed over. And I'm not sure if this is state by state or countrywide, but in some or all of the US it's actually illegal for employers to try to prohibit it. It's actually illegal nationally for a company to retaliate for discussing wages. They typically just make up some other bullshit reason to fire you instead. Make up some other bullshit reason. Or fire you for no reason at all, as California is an at-will employment state. Driving with interior overhead car lights on is not illegal. Edit, thanks for the gold, kind stranger. My first. Your mom told you that was illegal when you were a kid, too, huh? Dad asterisk. I had an experience with this. Got pulled over as a very new driver, 16, because my interior lights were on. The car and I were so new to each other I didn't know all of the controls and I had just left a bright parking lot. No laws broken, but the cop told me he stopped me for suspicion of DUI because it's an indicator of impaired driving. It's indicative of lack of attention. That sounds like a bullshit reason to pull someone over. People that think it's illegal to be videotaped in a public space. I saw someone on Nextdoor complaining about my reasonable right to privacy in a public place, when someone was shaming 20 people standing together waiting for takeout. Sorry, that's the opposite of how it works. If big-time celebrities can't stop paparazzi from following them and their family 24/7, I have no clue why ordinary people believe that they have the right not to be caught on camera in public. No laws against driving barefoot. Mandatory edition, in the US. In Germany, while appropriate footwear is not directly required, you can be found at fault if your choice of footwear or lack thereof leads to your inability to avert an accident. I believe it's the same in Australia. If you have an accident whilst wearing flip-flops, you might struggle with insurance to prove that wearing them didn't cause or add to the causing of the accident. Saw this and immediately went to Google to disprove, but you're absolutely right. I've been told this my entire life and always thought it was dumb. The reasoning everyone always told me was because the vibrations from the pedals would make your foot fall asleep or go numb, so you would have as much control, even though I know so many people who drive barefoot and have never heard one of them say that their foot fell asleep. My mom said, what if you get in a wreck and have to walk over broken glass? In the UK that it is illegal to drink under the age of 18. You can buy alcohol with a meal at 16. Beer, wine, cider, and you are not breaking any laws if you give your child some alcohol in the privacy of your own home and they are over the age of 5. Edit, at 16 you have to be accompanied by an adult and it is paid for by the adult. Thanks you/kiosk. You can buy alcohol with a meal, but do restaurants have a final say as to whether or not they'll serve it? Yes. The restaurant chain I used to work at wouldn't sell alcohol to anyone under 18, even if it was just one beer to have with a meal. In the UK, it's not illegal to park on someone else's driveway. It's classified as trespassing, a civil offense, not criminal, which means the police can't do anything. This particularly surprises people as many think that they have exclusive rights to the parking outside their house as well. What recourse do you have? In my old London borough, you phone the council and they guaranteed to turn up in an hour and tow it away, no questions asked. So long as you can prove you live there, that it's // in your property, and you don't want it there, they tow it and charge the owner for recovery. It's not the same everywhere, but because it's only a civil matter, you can just have it towed away yourself and charge the owner for recovery and storage. If nothing else, it's fly tipping. If you're asking about someone parking on the driveway, then you can remove, or have removed, that vehicle to a legal parking area. But, to ensure no damage is caused to that vehicle whilst moving it. If you're asking about blocking someone's drive so they can't get onto the road, only works that way, doesn't matter if you can't get on your drive, then the police can remove it. But it will not be a priority for them, and it will no doubt take some time before this is actioned. The local council parking enforcement may also assist.